What is up, guys? Today, on another random comic books review, we're talking about the death of Wolverine. Huge, monumental. I remember hearing about this series coming out. I got real excited. I got to read it actually like maybe a month or two ago, and I just finally getting around to talking about it with you guys. So let's get started. So, this dropped in January of 2015, so it's a little old. But like I said, if you follow Wolverine, he is basically invincible. With his healing factor and the way that they've built him up in the comic books, he's been shot in the head, he's been torn in half by the Hulk, he's been obliterated beyond belief, and he always comes back. It's like one of them Deadpool. It's him and Deadpool. They can't die. So the only way you ever think that maybe he could die is by losing his healing factor. So at the beginning of this storyline, you find out that this this microorganism or something, I don't know, this virus from the microverse has stripped Wolverine of his healing factor. So he is capable of being hurt and capable of dying. So that sets you up right there. I mean, this is a cool storyline. You have, he goes and sees Reed Richards and Iron Man, Tony Stark, and basically all the geniuses of the Marvel Universe, and they're all trying to help him. Reed Richards is adamantly, yeah. Anyway, he's trying to find a cure to bring his healing factor back, and basically Wolverine comes to accept it. He's lived a very long, pretty miserable life, and this is his chance to live it out, grow old, and die. So he kind of accepts it, and he tells Reed Richards, thanks for the offer and thanks for trying, but no thanks. I'm just gonna go and live in the woods and maybe find a wife and grow old and die. And you can't really blame him for that. But now that wouldn't be an interesting story, would it? So anyway, he gets attacked by a few people, and he finds out that there's a bounty on his head. Wolverine doesn't obviously want to live out the rest of his life being constantly attacked and hunted, so he decides to go out and try to find out who has put the bounty on his head and stop them and kill them so that he doesn't have to worry about it anymore. And this is where he ends up he goes to Viper, who is one of the first people who send out some people to try to kill him. This is a cool part of the comic book where you see, like, Viper has Sabretooth, like, as a pet. Pretty cool. I'm not really sure the backstory of that. You probably have to look more into some other storylines or whatever to find out more about that, but it was pretty cool. You find out from her that she's not the one who put the bounty on him. It's actually Dr. Cornelius, the one who started the whole thing, the one that did the founder of Weapon X, the one that did the experiments on Wolverine and gave him his adamantium claws and turned him into a weapon. He is trying to replicate the Weapon X, trying to replicate Wolverine, and like he always is, he's trying to make the perfect weapon, better than Wolverine. Basically, Wolverine, but one who will listen and do whatever you tell him to. So Wolverine heads out and tries to find Cornelius. Finding him, he sees that Cornelius is doing experiments on normal people and trying to do the adamantium bonding process, and he's just killing them all because they're missing the one thing that he needs, Wolverine's healing factor. So he's just murdering people, and he tries to kind of like tell Wolverine that it's okay because he's trying to change the world, he's trying to make things better, and what has Wolverine ever done in his life and all that stuff. So these casualties are for a better future Wolverine's not down with that. And Wolverine drops the bomb on Cornelius that little does Dr. Cornelius know, Wolverine doesn't have his healing factor anymore. So Dr. Cornelius was trying to get him there to take his healing factor to use to perfect this process, and he doesn't even have it anymore. So Dr. Cornelius is outraged. He releases his new weapons to try to kill Wolverine. As in the process of Wolverine killing one of the new weapons, the new villains, he throws him through the window at Cornelius, shattering the window. And spoiler alert, I mean, it's a pretty old comic book, you should know by now. He slashes the adamantium right before it starts the bonding process, spewing liquid hot adamantium everywhere, and it gets pours all over Wolverine. And in his last conversation with Cornelius, you find out that when he threw the guy through the window, one of the big shards of glass stabbed Cornelius, so he's dying too. So cool. Finally killed Dr. Cornelius. As he's walking out onto the roof into the sunset, he kind of has some flashbacks over his life, and he's come to peace at what he's done and where he's about to be. And then the adamantium hardens, and Wolverine dies. So it's kind of like a weird poetic, like, he's lived with the adamantium his whole life. He's hated it. It's what's not keeping him alive. His healing factor's keeping him alive, but you know what I mean. It's indestructible. And now that's what killed him. So it's kind of like it's kind of cool. Double-edged sword there, I liked it. I liked the whole story arc. It wasn't bad. A little short, which I'm not going to complain because I like my stories short because I don't have a lot of time, to sit and read nowadays. So the quicker it is, the better. I felt like it was a little rushed. There wasn't that many villains. There was a couple cool fights. But this is the end. They were trying to end the storyline, and they did it. Ending it that way was pretty cool. The only problem I have with all these deaths, kind of the same thing with Infinity War coming out this year. Like, it's always fun and awesome when you kill off a main character and one that we've loved and held on to for so long. It's a big blow. But when I read this, I already knew that they started back up with Wolverine, and I remember seeing the new cover of the first issue of the Wolverine, and he was in a adamantium shell that was opening up, and I always wondered why. And then reading The Death of Wolverine and seeing that he gets encapsulated in adamantium, I was like, oh, so that's why he's in adamantium when he comes back. But he comes back. So that takes the weight of this story and the point of it completely away. Basically, you screwed the artists over, which I'll get to the artists. I forgot to talk about them. It screws the artists over, basically. They just did a really damn good job at making a storyline and killing off a huge character, and for what? Nothing. You brought him back a year later. So, check out The Death of Wolverine. It is on Comixology for free. If you can get a hold of the paperback volume, it's probably like $20 now. It's a good story. It's a good read. It's a fun read. It doesn't have the weight it should because we know that Wolverine will never die. He will always come back. Yeah, the artists. Obviously, it was published by Marvel Comics. The creative team. The writers were Charles Soule, and the pencils were done by Steve McNiven. Inkers were Jay Leaston, and the colorist was Justin Ponzer. So, thanks for watching this nice little short random comic books review. I hope you enjoyed. If you're on the Suicide Moses Productions channel, like, share, and subscribe. Check out our other shows. I started a new series called Let's Draw, where I'm just setting up the time-lapse camera and I'm drawing a lot of Marvel characters, some video game characters, just whatever pops into my head at the time. If you're following us on social media, Twitter and Facebook, I usually do polls. You can vote on which character you want to see in the next Let's Draw. check out the Strange Planet podcast on Wednesdays. We still got that going on, and obviously the Random Comic Book Review, and we'll probably have a new episode of Bands You May Not Know coming out soon. So, thanks for watching, and have a great rest of the week.